Can you imagine not being able to hear? What first comes into your mind when you think of language? Now you may be wondering what I just did. I just signed my name, Callie, in ASL. ASL is a language using the movement of hands and expressions of the face. ASL has the same linguistic aspects of language in different regions. For example, BSL stands for British Sign Language, meanwhile ASL stands for American Sign Language. ASL is primarily used for people that are deaf and or have a communication disorder. This language is unique, and it is also an expressive form of communication. During the summer, I work as a respite care for a child with autism. She is nonverbal, so she uses ASL to communicate. ASL is also widely seen in my desired career path of becoming an ABA therapist, applied behavior analysis, who specialize in working with those with autism. I would like to discuss the origin of American Sign Language and how it is compared to a spoken language. First, we can talk about the basics of ASL. Let's talk about the origin. Sign language itself, in many forms, has been around for more than 500 years. According to National Geographic, some of the first aspects of formal sign language were used by monks. Deaf people had been believed to not be intelligent or capable enough to learn a language on their own, and therefore thought it was not possible to communicate at all. American Sign Language did not form until deaf education began in the United States. According to Don Sign, the history of ASL was founded in the early 1800s by a guy named Dr. Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet. He researched communication for the deaf and eventually started a school, American School for the Deaf, which would later grow to be known as Gallaudet University, which is currently the only deaf university in the entire world. Now that we have talked about the origin of sign language, let's talk about ASL compared to a spoken language. American Sign Language and spoken language have many similarities. American Sign Language is a natural language and form of communication, just like spoken language is. ASL has its own grammar and characteristics of language. The main difference between the two languages is that spoken language is heard, while sign language is not. They make use of gestures instead of verbal speech. Sign language uses expressions and signs to communicate. These signs represent the object or the movement. Regarding the case of ASL, signs are the units of language, alike how just words are units of sounds for spoken language. According to Silent Voice, these units can be combined to express meanings such as adding ed to a word to make it past tense. Changing the sign can make it have a different meaning as well. Sign language has nouns, adjectives, and verbs to communicate, very much like spoken language does. The two signs that the child I do respite care for uses the most often are candy, which is a noun, and go, which is a verb. Although ASL is very similar to spoken language, it is also comprised of its differences. According to Live Science, these languages use different parts of the brain, such spoken language is heard and uses the auditory cortex with the way you are listening. Meanwhile, sign language uses the visual cortex and with what you're seeing. There is still some debate and discussion over parts of the brain used for ASL and for spoken language in the sense of which one develops faster. Today, I've discussed the origin of American Sign Language and its comparison to spoken language. American Sign Language is the language of body movements. It was formed from the American School for the Deaf in 1817. ASL is similar to spoken language in the way that it is used to communicate and has units of language such as grammar and word types. ASL also has differences such that it is not heard but mainly seen. It is very expressive as tone of voice cannot be used to differentiate meaning. American Sign Language is a beautiful language that's very important to the communities that use it. I hope that you feel more informed on American Sign Language. Thank you.